Is your small business growing? That's the question we address right here on the Grow Your Biz Show. It's where we interview strategic entrepreneurs who inform and inspire you on your solopreneur or small company journey. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Grow Your Biz Show. Hi, and welcome to this episode of the Grow Your Biz Show. This is episode number 78 of the program, and I'm just glad you're along. Hi, I'm Paul Madsen, your host of the program and founder of GrowMedia.com. Grow Media is a company that helps small business owners to find their perfect pitch and to find their perfect market niche. Nick, that's what we do at Grow Media. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Paul.
Great to have you here. We'll talk with you a whole lot more after one brief word from our sponsor. ActionCoachOmaha.com is the global leader in business coaching for small businesses and businesses of all sizes. If you need to clarify your business and if you need to have some accountability in your business, contact Jim Barger at ActionCoachOmaha.com. Nick, thanks for coming down. I'm really excited to have you on the program today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, I heard your story. I said, that's a guy that has to be on my show because what do we do here? We talk about entrepreneurs. And you know, folks, getting started, I think, is the hardest part of being your own business and being your own entrepreneur. And that's what's so fun about Nick. Nick is, I'll let him tell his whole story as we go along. But let's just start with the beginning, Nick. What business are you in?
Well, the business that I'm in the business of inspiring and setting emotion through my all-natural soy candles.
Wow, well that's interesting. You inspire people and you set emotions and help them get certain feelings, all because of your candles. And they're what did you say? They're soy?
Yeah, they're all natural soy.
And what does that mean?
That means that there is no extra preservatives in there, and like when you burn it, it doesn't give off any black soot or any weird residue.
Well, there's a benefit. I imagine that's cool. And you've done this for a couple of years now?
Yes, so we're going on our fifth year.
Fifth year, and how old are you?
I'm 16.
That's part of the story. Now, okay, people, I just have to insert this here. I've started businesses, more than one. I know hundreds of people who have started businesses. More importantly, I've talked to people who want to start a business, but just don't know what to do or just don't know how to get started. I think they need to look at you. And what age did you get started?
12.
12, okay. So there's an answer that if a 12-year-old can do it, why can't you, right? So, well, let's get down to that story a little bit more. I do want to ask the question, Nick. You started at age 12. I mean, why are you in this business?
Well, so when I was 7 years old, I kind of knew I wanted to start my own company. And
7?
Yeah.
7 years old?
Only at 7, and that's when I drew my very first logo.
7 years old. Let's see, what was I doing at 7? Anyway, I'm not sure. A couple of years ago.
Yeah. And so I kind of played around with leather carving and some things with wood, and it just wasn't really kind of my thing. And then when I was 12 years old, my parents got me a candle making kit for my birthday. And that night, I kind of played with pouring a couple of them, and I fell in love with the math and science of it all. And so then we started selling to my teachers, sold into our first show, then our first store, and it kind of snowballed from there.
Wow, you're getting way too fast for me. I'm going to get drill down a little bit more on that, but I want to go back to the part about 7. How does a 7-year-old think? You said, I wanted to start my own company. Tell me what voices in your head made you want to start your own company when you're 7 years old?
Well, I was more of a crafty kid, and so I always loved making different things with my hands. Like not kind of like paper crafts. It was more kind of like, hey, saw a 2x4, wanted to make something cool out of it, and I always saw people would sell those, and I kind of wanted to make money off of it. And so then learning from little stuff like that, from a garage sale to selling in school to my friends, that kind of sparked something inside me that really made me want to have that entrepreneurial spirit.
Interesting. Are your parents entrepreneurs?
Yes. Well, my mom, she owns her own company, and my dad's actually a police officer.
Okay. And what kind of company does your mom own?
She owns a consulting company.
Consulting company. Okay, great. Well, so you saw a little bit at home. You saw people have that spirit. Do you think that rubbed off on you that way?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, well, but I've never heard of a 7-year-old say, gee, I want to go into business. I wanted to go swimming at the local lake. That's what I want to do at 7 years old, play with my dog. But that's a great story. So you started with various media, other things, leather, wood, and things like that.
Yeah.
And you tried to sell those made products and crafty products out of those?
Yeah, and so I tried to sell them at, like we had a garage sale. I tried to sell a little bit of that to neighbors, friends.
Okay.
And I mean, it was fun for like kind of a little while, but it wasn't really on market. So.
Oh, you had a hard time getting the product sold.
Yeah, and also just the time consumption of making it.
Oh, okay. And so the media wasn't right. So what you're telling me, you did some trial and learned by error, the trial and error that it wasn't right for you.
Yeah.
But you still, did that discourage you as a aged and mature 8 and 9-year-old? Did that say, gee, I don't want to into this business, let's go swimming?
I wouldn't say it discouraged me. I think it repositioned my path of where I wanted to go. So instead of looking at all of this handmade, has to be something that has to be certain things, or like that cool wood, it pushed me more towards something to where a kid wouldn't really make candles. So that's why it kind of repositioned me instead of discouraging me.
Well, I think what you're saying, and our viewers can take stock in this. I think you're learning at, again, age 8 and 9, the whole idea of scale.
Yeah.
I mean, to make a one-off thing, a sculpture out of wood, you're making one thing out of wood, and you've got how many hours invested in it?
Yeah,
a lot.
5 or 6, yeah.
And it may sell or it may not. Whereas a candle, you tell me about the production process of a candle at age 8, 9, and 10.
Yeah, so at 12, when we first made them, we can only pump out about 3 to 6 a night.
A night, okay.
Yeah, because it was basically a double boiler on my mom's stove. She did not like that. And so from there, we started with like 1 kettle, then 2 kettles, and the kettle is what we put into the double boiler. And so then we kind of started expanding into, we could pump out, we could do 1 on each burner, and then that only takes an hour each, then we can pump out 20 an hour, and then do that for a full Saturday.
Oh, wow.
And then once we moved, we turned the production into, we have an industrial wax melter now, and so that can pump out 150 pounds per 2 hours. Wow.
And so I hit on something. You really did learn about scale.
Yeah.
Because instead of you invest that amount of time, and then you can all of a sudden multiply your efforts, multiply your time, multiply your profits, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's terrific. That's a real interesting learning at a young age and such. Before we get into the official launch at age 12 and whatnot, I wanted to ask you, there are plenty of candles for sale out there, right? I think the local convenience store probably has candles on its shelf that, I don't know why, but they probably do. Maybe for drivers who break down and they need a candle, I don't know. Hey, I grew up in Wisconsin. We were told to have candles in our cars because it's cold and you break down in the wintertime. We didn't need a Bianchi candle, but we needed a candle. Anyway, the question I'm trying to get to eventually is, what makes your candles, Nick, different than those out in the marketplace?
Yeah, so like I said before, it's an all-natural soy candle. And
all-natural soy, okay.
Yeah, and so because of that, it burns a lot longer and cleaner. And for our 8-ounce one, it burns 60 hours.
Really?
Yeah, and the normal ones usually burn about 40, so it has an advantage just with the sheer time that it burns. And also we have an Inspire line that gives you the yes you can mindset. So on each of these candles, it has an inspirational word with an inspirational quote underneath, and that's just kind of that's kind of to give you the inspiration that you need to go throughout the day. And so it's a little bit different than what normal candles would have.
Is it a card, a greeting card or something?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a greeting card on the box and also on the candle itself. So it's a card and a candle all in one.
Well, we're going full circle back. Did you hear? You said, when I asked you what business you're in, you said, we're creating a mood and we're creating an emotion. And you do that beyond just the candle. You've got the packaging, you've got the message.
Yeah.
How do you come up with your messages and things like that?
So like some of it's just kind of hearing from what people tell us, and some of it's just kind of from learning experience. And so I have since I'm in high school still, I have a lot of friends that can help me out, like, hey, this is what works best for me. And so I know with the Joy candle, the big thing right now is yellow. So it's a yellow box that says joy, and it's a very fruity smell, so it kind of provokes joy.
Okay.
And I know even just with this year for expansion, a lot of people are asking for things like gratitude or different ones that are kind of like giving more as gift instead of the ones that we have now, which are bravery, perseverance, very inspirational ones.
Yeah.
And so they also want to be able to expand off into different ways.
Well, how did you, I mean, again, okay, so the answer to my question is that you have them uniquely packaged, branded, marketed to create specific moods and emotions. Is that what I'm hearing correctly? Yeah. Okay. My question is the deep, long life of a 16-year-old. I mean, how do you, oh, you said your friends help you with some of the emotion thing, but I mean, how do you decide, where'd you come up with a bravery candle and some of these other candle lines that you're talking about?
Well, so
where do you pull this inspiration from yourself?
I mean, I have a lot of kind of mentors that inspire me, and I know a lot of it's kind of provoked through them of seeing how they've grown, how they've done different ways. And I've also, from the different hardships that this company has just developed through the past 4 years, because the Inspire line is only 6 months old. So it's through 4 years of different things. So I know, like perseverance, when we had something go wrong, I needed to persevere through it, and then how did I do it? And then going from there. And even just with our hope candle, my grandma, before she passed away, her big thing was hope, or like hope and bravery. Okay. And so we took her quote that she told us and put that onto the hope one. So it's just, it's from different lives.
What is the quote?
Well, it's right here.
Oh, well, we have it right here.
And so the quote from Hope is, "We can't change what life hands us, but each of our lives is a gift. Find every moment that you can to breathe hope into everything that you do."
Awesome. Can I see?
Yeah.
So that's what a Yes You candle and the Hope candle, complete with Nick's story on that side as well. 60 hours, says it right there. So that sounds great, like a real value you're delivering as well. I really like the thing about the non-smoky ceiling. And that's awesome as far as that part. Well, that clearly helps define and set you apart as far as your product, I think. Who are your biggest competitors out there? What's that field like?
So I mean, our biggest competitors, it kind of varies within the different lines. We have some of our competitors within our own stores.
Of course.
Yeah, just sitting right next to us.
Yeah, of course. Well, and so stores aren't going to carry one product.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And so I mean, the nice thing is that within our competitors, we have somewhat of an advantage of you have a 16-year-old behind it that's kind of helping so it has a story behind it that you're helping a young entrepreneur. Yeah. And so we do have a couple of competitors within the local area, but we kind of see it as our product's a little more different also because we have the inspirational.
Yeah, you've got, well, and that's what sells. I mean, emotion is behind every sale, I think, and we look at sales logically. What are you selling, entrepreneurs? What is it that you sell specifically, and what's the story behind that? What's the emotion behind that someone wants to buy for? If you're just selling a generic Me Too product and it's about price, well then you're out of here. It's only a matter of time, a race to the bottom and all that. But I think people could learn a lot from you about what's the story, what's the branding, what's the process behind that. And again, that's why I ask, why are you in business? What makes you different than others? And you've got great answers for those kind of things too. Well, let's go back to I think there was something that happened around age 12 that kind of got you started on the path here. You got something for Christmas or whatever?
Yeah, so I got a candle making kit for my birthday.
Candle making kit for your birthday? Yeah. Oh, birthday, not Christmas, sorry. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, which is a very weird birthday present at first when I first opened it.
But, well, your parents, and they knew you well, and they saw how crafty you were and all that, and how entrepreneurial you were.
Yeah.
So from their perspective, it's not weird at all.
Ended up being the best gift.
Well, that's wonderful. I mean, I wanted a bike when I was 11. I think I got one about age 11 too. So, I didn't have that whole angle going at that point. And so, tell us what happened with this gift then?
Yeah, so then that night I poured a couple of candles, and so it provoked, so I've been big into math and science, and that's what kind of really got my mind focused on candles.
Well, how does you've said this a couple times, how does the math and science, I mean, I've never had a candle kit, so I don't know what they do or what's involved. I mean, what do you bring, math and science-wise, to the process?
So,
I mean, what do you use? What skills? What talents? What?
Yeah, so a lot of it's you have to know the different scent to wax ratio, the different dye to wax ratio, to make sure everything mixes right so that the scent throw isn't off, to make sure that there's no scent bubbles within there. So like one day it burns really strong, one day it burns really soft, to make sure that the wick burns at enough of a radius so you don't have a crater within your own candle.
Oh my! Yeah.
Yet it's not too hot to where it breaks the glass.
Okay.
You have to make sure that with the heat of it that it doesn't like mess up the label and it heats.
And how do you know all this? I mean, you're a chemistry whiz or what?
Trial and error.
Oh, trial and error.
There's a lot of candles that are mess ups.
Back to the carving the wood thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha. And so trial and error. And I mean, how many times have you tried and errored? I mean, with all this as you go along, you're probably still learning, right?
Oh yeah, plenty of times. I'm still learning to today about some different things, even just with the heat and cooling of setting candles.
Okay.
And so I know when it's too cold, it'll shrink the wax and it'll just pop right out of the jar. And,
Okay.
and I know if it's too hot, it'll be too soft, and so then when you ship it, it'll melt right out.
And again, trial and error is
We've had people tell us about what happens. We have plenty of times that we've just sat there and looked at it, and it's like, well, that's not right.
I can tell, that's pretty scientific.
Yeah, it's like
something wrong here.
And so then we'll put that aside, and it's like we've had times where like I let my mom use the candles, and so then she's kind of like my product tester, and then we also have some friends that do that for us, and they're like, well, today it smelled like really, really strong, and today it smelled really, really soft.
Interesting.
And so then it's like, oh, we need to fix that. So then we'll go in and we'll fix it, and then we'll master that part.
Tell me about the quality assurance. I mean, you have to do some of that before you ship all these products. I mean, do you have dozens of friends burning candles for you, or
yeah? So like we have like whenever we see a batch that's just not right and we're not really sure what's wrong with it yet, we put it inside of our mess up jars.
Okay.
And so we have an area where it's like, okay, if a friend's over here like, hey, can I have a free candle? Sure. Here's your free candle, but you need to tell us about what's going on.
Well, that's
here.
excellent. Yeah.
And so it's like then they get a free candle, and it's also marketing, and then they also give us feedback on everything.
Get your focus group there for free. Some big corporations have put people in rooms and have focus groups, and it's far from free as that goes. Well, that's an interesting process. Well, I mean, tell me more detail about your laboratory. I mean, it started with Mom's stove, and where did it, in detail, where did it go from there, and where is it now?
And so it started with my mom's stove, making just a couple on each burner, and then from there, I bet after about a year, it grew to every Saturday and Sunday pumping out close to like 200 to 250.
And you're selling that many?
Yes, so we always make as much as it sells, and usually we do it per the order.
I was going to ask you, do you wait for an order to come and then make them, or
yeah, because we don't want we want the candles to like be freshly made and ship them out, and so it's easier that way. And we also don't have a bunch of back inventory, which is never fun to try to sell.
No, in the business that can kill a business pretty fast.
Yeah, and so we do that whenever we have shows. Like so, once August hits, we'll have a ton of inventory set up for all the shows that we hit.
Oh yeah.
But then like around this time, it's just strictly for orders.
Well, tell me about those early. You said shows. Tell me about the early days when here's Nick, the 12 and 13-year-old who's got 30 candles sitting around. How do you start selling them?
So our first small sale was to one of my teachers. And so she offered me $20 to buy just one of my candles.
Did you price it, or did she come up with a number?
She came up with a price. Right. Yeah, she just pulled it out.
This one cost me $3 to make. 20, I'm in. Yeah. Thanks, teacher.
Yeah. And so she's like, hey, this, and then she handed me the jar, said fill it up with vanilla.
Oh, she gave you the jar?
Yeah,
wow.
Saving costs there too.
Wow, this is great. Yeah. Too bad all the sales can't be like that. Your profit margin will go.
And then from there, we saw a show that was kind of opening up, and it was the Sam's Club show. And so from there, we kind of showed up with a couple of candles, started selling here and there.
Tell me about the show.
And so, so like we came in, we just kind of had a booth, just kind of like a normal everyday show look to it.
At Sam's Club?
Yeah.
They opened up a craft show or something, or
they
what?
did it. It was like a special occasion, so I'm not. It's not like a normal thing. This was just something that happened to come
tracking,
up.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. But it was a forum for you.
Yeah, and so everyone got like their own little aisle, and then they got to like take care of that stuff. And so it was kind of hard for the first 2 years because no one really took me seriously.
Right.
Because they saw a 12-year-old. They made this out of nothing. It's like some crayons melted or something. It's like no.
Melted crayons. That's good.
And so
he says it smells, but it smells burnt.
Yeah, which was actually funny because the first show that we ended up selling 168
candles.
Yes.
Wow.
At the first, and it was just one day show.
And that was not the Sam's Club one.
No, this was the Sam's Club one.
It was.
Yeah, and so something that we didn't really think would be a whole lot actually ended up selling quite a bit.
So what was your gross revenue from that? 168, roughly.
I don't actually remember the small one because we didn't really have the numbers down. We just kind of make them, sell them.
I mean, each one
idea.
$2 or $3 for a candle?
Yeah,
or?
probably. It was
So
just
you're walking away
bucks.
with $300-400?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it ended up working out pretty good.
I mean, gross. You have costs, of course.
Yeah.
But you didn't have to pay for a vendor booth.
I know we actually had to pay $50 down.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, and that's why they did it.
Yeah.
Plus, they get a lot more customers in the store. Yeah, aren't they sneaky? Yeah. Well, tell me the next ones. What happened after that as far as you getting to blossom and grow out there?
Yeah, so then from there, we ended up kind of saying, oh, this is a good idea. We need to start doing more of this.
Market validation?
Yeah.
You did your A/B testing? Yeah. Did you decide also which candles were more popular then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we started off with probably about 20 cents, and then we narrowed it down to only 10. And so we ended up cutting out quite a bit of the ones that people didn't really like.
Yeah, you don't want to carry ones that people don't buy, right?
Yeah, and so from there we kind of we went and so that was kind of early-ish inside the year, and then throughout the summer we ended up doing our local farmers market.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so we sold there for the whole summer. We did that for about 2 years, and then kind of coming into winter, fall, that's when we would sell into these school craft fairs. And so like we had all the high school craft fairs.
Yeah, the holiday ones,
Yeah.
boutique and all that, yeah.
And then we'd also sell, that's when we kind of started getting into the hot shops. And so we sell into like hot shops.
Oh, okay.
And so we sold into there for a couple of years as like a show. And they always would let people come in, and then we'd sell there for a weekend.
And I mean, again, for those who are just starting their businesses, you had a product, you tested it a little bit at a low cost. You went into an environment and decided what products sold. I mean, how did you learn about each expanding level of show? Just word of mouth, just being out there?
Yeah, so we'd hear it from some of the show moms that actually go and buy them, and they're like, oh, you look really good here. And then we wrote down some of the information for that, looked into it a little bit more.
Okay.
And we kind of learned from that, focused on the size, and a lot of it's, again, just trial and error.
Yeah,
like throughout the years, we learned, hey, instead of bringing 300 to this show, only bring 50. And then instead of bringing 50 to this show, bring 400.
Wow. How many shows do you think you've done over the years?
Oh, geez, that's a lot. Over 100.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we've done a lot.
You've got your system down about how to store, what to bring, what to sell. Ever run out of product at shows before?
Oh, plenty of times.
Really?
Well,
Good for you.
sometimes, like, we still do new shows. Even every single year, there's like a new show, and we're like, okay, this high school is about the size of this high school.
Yeah.
Let's bring 200, but hey, it's my high school, so that everyone knows me.
Oh,
so
yeah,
instead
yeah.
of buying one, they'll buy 4.
Sure. Wow.
And so then it's like, oh, we sold out throughout that 2-day weekend, we sold out 3 different times, and we'd have to go home that night and keep on making more.
Wow. Well, tell me about the biggest show you've done. I mean, how you've traveled quite a ways for some of these.
Yeah. So I mean, our biggest show that like we saw immediate growth from was actually a show down in Xarban, which we do every year, and it was 2 years ago we sold the most, and it was 542
candles.
Yes.
Wow. In a local show.
Yes.
Didn't I hear you go to New York or some other shows or something like that too?
Yeah, so we also went to Philadelphia.
I mean, that's great. And it's great because you don't have the travel costs.
Yeah, and so we went to Philadelphia this past February, actually.
Wow.
And so up there, it's a nationwide trade show.
Okay.
But the thing with trade shows is that you don't see immediate orders. So people don't go up there and say, hey, I want these right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we didn't even bring it, like we only brought like one of each product.
Sure.
And so that's what you're going to start seeing. You'll see like orders coming in the next month or 2 or in 3 months, or hey, I want this order for August. And so you won't even hear about it.
Are these stores that come to they're wholesalers that come to these shows? Then?
Yeah, and so they're stores.
So they're ordering for their stores and their lines.
Yeah,
Wow.
and so so a lot of it's just kind of the waiting game of, hey, we did this show in February, maybe in July we'll get 10,000 orders.
Sure. Wow. Interesting. And it's just back to the same old lesson of beating the street and being consistent out there, right?
Yeah.
And so if you do enough of that, well then the bricks keep getting stacked higher, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's terrific. That's what was the most humiliating or embarrassing or negative event that you've been out to that something bad happened, and what did you learn from it?
Well, there's been a couple.
I thought there might be that flat tire and no, whatever.
I mean, there was one show. It was 2 years ago, I want to say, so still pretty young into the business area. And so when it comes down to that, like we would get our show set up and then we'd have like some of the people come over and critique, and it's like, it was just a black table with candles sitting on it.
Yeah.
And we were way under our game there. I mean, it was so bad. We even started the weekend just off bad foot.
Did people say things? Or
Yeah, so like because we wanted that constructive criticism, and
okay.
we want that so we can learn from it. And
Wow.
so we had people tell us, oh, you can't even see the candles walking past the booth, you need
wow.
to push it out, all this kind of stuff. And then like we had some candles burning in the area where someone would bump it and the whole thing would spill all over everything.
Yeah, that's an issue.
It was a mess.
Yeah, you can't always have an open flame at a trade show like that, can you? Well, it sounds like you've learned a lot. I mean, you've got a wonderful display here, you've got wonderful displayed products and things like that. As we wrap up here today, Nick, I wanted to ask before we do, what percentage of your sales and work now is online versus at the trade shows?
So trade shows, kind of collectively with wholesale and retail, it's about 80 to 20%.
Okay, so you're still doing 20% online, and who gets to package and ship these?
Me.
I wondered about that.
Yeah, you get the CEO write-off.
You're a busy guy.
Yeah.
Are you in any high school activities other than candle wrapping and candle making?
Yeah, so I do our student council and also our DECA programs. And last year I
I'm
was
so
in track.
surprised you're in DECA, the future business leaders and things like that. Probably one of the only high school kids that has a high volume grossing actual business, so that's terrific. Last advice for wannabe entrepreneurs out there, people who don't know what to do, who don't know how to grow to the next level. What's your advice for those people?
I'd say the biggest advice that I would give to new entrepreneurs is no matter what gets thrown your way, no matter what hardships happen, kind of persevere through it and never give up on what happens, because just because the business that you have now isn't the business that's succeeding, it may not be the business that you're supposed to be in. So just keep having your grind on and finding out what you like.
Well, I think that's exceptional. Having your grind on. I think we just got a name for this show episode, Having Your Grind On. I'm going to use that repeatedly. Nick is a phenomenon. For a 16-year-old, he talks trademarks, he talks LLC. Oh, real quick, tell the LLC for your birthday story.
Yeah, so when I was 11 years old, where a lot of kids kind of ask for bikes and stuff, I asked for an LLC for my birthday.
Mom, Dad, can I have a limited liability corporation? That's great. On that note, we're going to wrap up. Thanks for joining us at the Grow Your Biz Show. Nick, how do they reach you?
You can reach us through our website or on, basically through our website is where you can get all of our...
Which is?
BianchiCandleCo.com, and that's where you can see our online store, and you can also get us through social media.
Fantastic story. I hope you replay this, DVR it, and replay this, because there are a lot of lessons in here out of the mouth of a babe of a 16-year-old. He speaks like an MBA who's 40, and we can all learn from Nick. And Nick, so I'm glad you came out.
Thanks
for coming. We'll talk to you soon, and we'll see you next week on the Grow Your Biz Show. In the meantime, go out and grow something.